Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Here's my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandro Luketic. And today we're talking 1993's So I Married an Axe Murderer. We assume if you're listening to this episode, you have already seen the movie. I had not seen the movie before. I believe you had also not seen the movie before.
Oh, I've seen the movie. Why would you think I didn't see the movie?
Because you never see anything we cover.
Yeah, but I've seen this one.
Okay, fine. All right, one of those rare instances. Fine. I have a question for you right off the bat, dude.
I got a question for you. Why do you keep making assumptions?
Because I'm always wrong when I assume you've seen something.
And
so
now you're wrong when you assume I haven't seen it.
And you get mad at me when I ask if you have.
Well, just stop assuming things.
Oh my God.
Don't make the statement,
Fine.
I assume you haven't seen it. No, just ask. Hey, man, you seen this one? I'd be like,
Hey, have you seen this one, Sandro?
Yeah, I have.
All right, good. Fine.
Yeah, was that so hard?
No. Question.
Okay.
Do you like Mike Myers?
I mean, never really met. I'm sure if we got to know each other.
Do you like Mike Myers movies? His acting in particular?
He's very hit or miss.
I agree, but I was thinking about it today, and I think Mike Myers is only funny in the 90s when I'm a teenager.
Okay.
I don't find that any of his movies hold up. Well, okay, his acting in the movies does not hold up. I find that the supporting cast remains hilarious. I find everything he's done post the first Austin Powers, what's that, 97-ish, to not be entertaining. I don't know if he's a good actor or he found something that worked for a short amount of time and it just fizzled out, because even his dramatic performances, like in Inglourious Bastards, I don't.
Are we not counting voice acting? Because Shrek is like a timeless thing.
I still have problems with Shrek even to this day.
Of course you would, you curmudgeon.
Okay, that's fine. That's very close. So that was what, 2000, 2001? It's been over 20 years.
Yeah, but again, I mean, not your like or dislike for it. The fact that it is a voice performance gives it a little bit of something different.
Yes, in that it's not him physically on screen, but it's him just doing the same thing over and over again. Yet again, we get another Scottish accent.
Yeah,
and this would be what?
I can't think of a single other movie beyond Shrek where he did that.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not this one. Definitely not Goldmember. It's like, and it works. Like, he can do it really well. He does. It's fantastic. We'll get into the movie in a second. It's just, this was a major realization for me because I remember liking Mike Myers movies. I've gone back and watched a few recently, and he doesn't make me laugh anymore.
Okay.
And I'm curious to know if that's a common occurrence now, or like, do you, like, if you go back and watch his stuff, does he make you laugh?
I mean, I haven't gone back and watched much of it. And to be honest, outside of Wayne's World and the Shrek movies, the only other thing I can think that he did was The Love Guru, and that was just straight garbage.
3 Austin Powers movies.
Didn't I say that?
No.
Is it beyond Shrek and Austin Powers? No? Okay. Whatever.
I also haven't seen The Love Guru. I just heard it was terrible, so I avoided it.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I want to like Mike Myers. A Canadian actor, successful Canadian actor. Honestly, on SNL, he was funny. And to an extent still is. So I'll give him that. But it was almost depressing. And I was really worried to watch this movie because I'm like, great, this is another Mike Myers vehicle where I'm just not going to be entertained. And
okay,
I'm sure you'll figure out how I feel about this movie as we talk about it.
All right. Well, should we?
No.
Oh, okay.
There, that's your hint.
Okay. Well, before we get into your feelings here, let's just remind everybody that this is our July fan pick.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, we got this pick from Alyssa, and she provided us a reason for why she picked it.
I'm very curious because I've heard great things about this movie from numerous people, so I assume the same here.
My significant other loves this movie too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the reasoning listed here is, it was hilarious back when I watched it 10 times as a teenager. I wonder if the comedy has held up. Mm-hmm. I haven't watched it in years.
Perfect.
So we're going on nostalgia. It's a nostalgia pick.
Yeah. And that's fine.
How has that worked out for us in the past when it's been one of ours?
Horribly. It's not a good idea. But in what Alyssa has said there, I believe it echoes what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, it does.
So
it really does.
I'm curious. And when did you first see this?
My dad would have rented it for us when it was kind of like a new release in the video store, not in the theaters. Okay, so early 90s, mid-90s. It's been a long time. And I haven't seen it since then.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. All right. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this. But let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's do that.
So we open on a drawn-out helicopter shot of San Francisco at night, which I do have to say looks fantastic, and I'm hooked because I love San Francisco. I spent a fair amount of time there. I really do love that city. Okay, this is where we get into it. We enter Rhodes Cafe, and immediately I hate everything that I'm seeing. No, man, there's something about early 90s coffee house performance culture that drives me up the fucking wall. I have been in those scenarios. I hate them. I don't want to be around those people. It's just, everyone's so full of themselves and they believe that they're incredibly creative and they want to show everybody what they've done. And you're like, all right, I'll listen to what you have to say. And then they recite their poetry and you're like, this is
trash.
Yeah, it's not good.
No,
not good. But you're stuck there surrounded by people who are like, they're doing what I want to do and I'm going to go up next. And they all start snapping and applauding. And you're like, we're all fucking liars in this room. We realize this, right? Nobody cares. We just want to feel like we've got a home and no one's going to judge my awful performance.
I don't really mind the dingy look of the place, and it is very 90s feeling. I hate slam poetry.
It's the worst.
There is going to be a very heavy bias of hating slam poetry in this movie, and it makes me question why anybody would put it in their movie.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It was very big at the time. I get that. But I see this and I'm like, I would much rather watch Def Poetry Jam. Just give me that. That's actually good. This shit is the worst. And
if he had to make himself a performer, because I'm assuming it's to not question why he never goes to work, why not just make yourself a stand-up comedian? I know it's a little on the nose, but at least it's not this.
And the comedy scene in San Fran in the early 90s was booming. It makes perfect sense. You're correct. That would be great. But we don't get great. We get shit. And the shot of the cappuccino, I have to say, is all right. Where we follow somebody finishing their cappuccino. We're focused. The camera's focused on the mug. A server comes over, picks it up, walks it over to a dishwasher. They wash it, hand it over to somebody who dries it, and then it hands it over to somebody else, and they go over and make another cappuccino with it. And we follow the mug all the way over to Mike Myers, his character, Charlie McKenzie, who hasn't said a thing and is already irritating the shit out of me. It's his expression, man.
I really like the cinematic style of following this mug.
It's great. It is. But it reminds me way too much of following the flashing light on the top of the police car in the Naked Gun movies.
Okay, but I mean, it's just for the credits, so you can let it go. It's just an entertaining way. I mean, what would you rather have during the credits, right? Just give me something a little bit kind of unique with the camera work or something, and I'm good.
We don't we don't need a credit sequence for this movie. No one's paying attention to them anyway. Just have the movie start, the story play out, and just have the credits in the screen corner. Because the Naked Gun opening, that was just a credit sequence too. It had nothing to do with the rest of the movie, much like this cup of cappuccino. I think it came across as being so pretentious that it was irritating. And I'm not going to lie, after they deliver the cup of coffee, he does his little spiel about it being too big and finishes off with, hello. I turned the movie off.
I made a mental note today when I was driving home from work. And I'm thinking, when I talk to Ben, I definitely have to point out the hello, because I hate punchline punctuation.
It's the worst. It's been a long time since I've rage quit a movie, man.
You made it one line in?
Well, no, it was a couple of lines, but only his dialogue, or his, no, not really monologue, his lines of dialogue, we'll say. Yeah, I made it that far in. I'm like, no, fuck this. I'm out. I am out.
I thought that was literally the first line in the movie, though.
It's the end of his little spiel at the beginning of the movie. Yes, you are correct. And I dreaded finishing this movie.
Yeah, it set me off on the wrong foot for sure. I can't stand the hello thing.
No.
Just tell the joke.
He's too over the top. Yes.
If it's funny, people will laugh. You don't need to give them an indicator. Like, you might as well just have a laugh now sign above his head that flashes.
Yeah, don't put an emphasis.
Punchline punctuation.
Yes. Don't put an emphasis on something that wasn't funny in the first place, and then give us that, like, moment that we're supposed to laugh, because all it does is allows us to ruminate on how terrible the joke was.
It only works in like long form stand up where they go back to it. It's thematic. On an isolated incident, it's just annoying.
Yeah, and that happens throughout the movie. It's like Auerbach took a break from writing, is like, maybe I'll try and edit video instead of sound. It was terrible. But moving on, we get to see Anthony LaPaglia. I'm like, okay, we might have a good character in this movie. And he plays Tony. But what the fuck is Tony wearing?
I love Tony. I'm going to say it right now. Tony's awesome.
Tony is amazing. Tony is the saving grace. Like, I had an honest to God sigh of relief when he started talking. Like, oh, I love Joe. I love Empire Records. But his character, like,
why would you wear that?
It's so incredibly goofy and never comes up again. Like, the attire never comes up again. He's dressed like a pimp.
It sets you up to think that this character is out of touch.
Exactly.
And then...
And he's not, because you see him later and you're like, this guy's pretty stylish, especially for 93.
And not just stylish, but like intelligent and in tune with what's going on.
Yeah. And here we get a complete idiot dressed like a fool.
Yep.
Now, the only way this really could have worked, I think, is if we already addressed his desire to be the type of cop that he sees on TV. But that doesn't come up until later. And at that point, most people have already forgotten this.
Make it a run-on joke where he's not wearing something that looks like a pimp, but say something like from the 70s, for example. And like his whole shtick is that he's trying to be a 70s beat cop.
Yes. Perfect. You've been doing really well over the last few episodes of pointing out missteps and rectifying them and making me wish that you had a hand in making these movies. Well done, sir.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but you're good at this. You're great at finding the flaws and being like, well, here's a quick fix.
All right. Well, what happens next? I'm sure it's something good.
Oh, it's fucking amazing because we get our first performance.
I'm out.
Well, Sandro, my next poem is called An Open Apology to the Aliens Who Abducted Me and Whom I Inflicted Great Destruction Upon While Having a Panic Attack Aboard the Mothership. Autobiographical.
I'd rather hear that poem than when Mike Myers goes up.
My next note is all in caps and just says, fuck you. I hate it. I hate it.
I still would have been more interested in hearing that than the woman joke or poem.
We learn about Charlie's inability to maintain relationships, always breaking up with women for reasons like one was a klepto, one was in the mafia, one smelled like soup.
If only there wasn't a 90s sitcom that was stupidly popular that ran for 9 seasons where two friends talked about that in a coffee shop all the time.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said, if only.
Yeah, if only, yeah, for sure. There you go again, fixing shit. Yeah, and like you said, of course, Charlie is sticking to doing that one poem about his last girlfriend, Sherry, the woman poem, Kill Me Now. But I do have to say, once we get out of that hellhole, the movie gets better.
Well, yeah, you set the bar at 0. It's not hard to get above it.
Yeah, that was a terrible opening. Absolutely terrible. I do have to say, I think I might know why. Apparently, Mike Myers was very difficult to deal with on set. He kept wanting to shift focus onto his character and have his character do different things and have the background kind of create a different type of atmosphere. And it seems like it's a mix of what he wanted and what the director and writer wanted, and it just didn't mesh together well.
I actually just read one of those articles, the clickbait ones you see on like Facebook of like 10 difficult artists and 10 super nice ones to work with.
Yeah.
And Mike Myers was on there talking about how much of a jerk he often is on set.
I can see that too. Like, he is definitely full of himself, which I hate to read, and I hope is being over embellished. But I mean, we do hear stories about actors, very popular, favorite actors who are not good to work with.
Number one nicest was Keanu Reeves, so at least Canada's got that.
That's true. Who doesn't love Reeves? The next day, Charlie stops by Meats of the World to buy haggis, and we finally meet the butcher, Harriet, played by Nancy Travis. Now, Nancy Travis is an actor I've seen in numerous films, but I always found her annoying. And I don't know what it is about this film. And I do know what it is about this film. Her eyes. Those eyes had me, man. I've never noticed them before.
It wasn't the eyes for me, dude.
No, I know. But
I'm going to tell you right now, I was watching this movie, and I was actually floored. I'm like, this woman is breathtaking. And It was the smile that got me.
Yes.
When he's looking at her from afar, and it's not even like when she's smiling later in the movie, I don't know if they just like captured it from a great angle or anything, but that first smile, it was like disarming.
It was, yes, exactly. And that's how I feel about her in this movie. You nailed it. She's completely disarming. And I don't know how I never noticed her in other movies.
Yeah, just a stunning woman.
And a fantastic actor. I would say one of the best actors in this movie.
Yeah, top 3.
Oh, interesting. All right, we'll get to awards. Next, we're introduced to Charlie's family. His mother, May, played by Brenda Fricker, who has done so much acting in her career, but I feel really bad. I only really know her as the pigeon woman from Home Alone 2. Charlie's father, Stuart, also played by Mike Myers with a Scottish accent because his family is Scottish, hence buying the haggis. Younger brother, William, nicknamed Head or Heed, depending on who's saying it, played by Matt Doherty, who we both know as Averman from the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
I love this house.
I love this family. I'd rather watch this movie.
Yeah, that really could have been a sitcom, you know.
Oh, it doesn't even make a sitcom. Just a movie. I think the sitcom would have worn out its welcome.
One season, one 12-episode season. I'd be down for that. But I was saying the house, man, like the sets in this movie are great.
Oh, they got the wall of Scottish people.
Yeah.
It's the first thing they show you in the house, and you know what you're in for.
Especially when the first photo you see is Sean Connery, and you're like, well, he just likes to drink and smack women. So I guess that's where we are. But like this house, Harriet's apartment, the amount of detail they put into the mess that is the coffee house, other restaurants I go to, like these look fantastic. But one thing that threw me off is that Tony is there. And not only is he just there, he's there before Charlie gets there.
Well, because they sent Charlie to get the haggis.
Well, yeah, but he picked that up during the day and it's nighttime now. And I'm like, I wasn't sure what Tony's deal was with the family. Honestly, I originally thought he was Charlie's brother.
Would have made a lot more sense.
It really would, because they don't talk about that friendship. They're just friends. You're like, these are two very different people that should not get along nearly as well as they do. He should not be getting along with the family, specifically because of how much attention he gets from May. But
yeah, no, they should have been brothers for sure.
Yeah, it would have made much more sense. But this is where elderly Stuart, goes on his rant about his belief in the Pentaverate and his ire for Colonel Sanders. I don't know why it happens. I did chuckle at it, I will say. But
yeah, it's a good scene. It really is.
But
How
I looked
can you
into
hate the Colonel.
The Pentaverate, Sandro. I didn't realize they turned that into a Netflix miniseries.
Really?
It came out in May of this year, so what, 2 months ago? And it's a miniseries covering their ideas of what the Illuminati was in the So I Married an Axe Murderer world. I have not encountered anybody who has seen it. The reviews I've read have been less than favorable.
All right, then.
We get some info on May when she and Charlie have a talk about her belief in the Weekly World News being a legit newspaper. It is the 8th most circulated paper in the world, after all. And do you know what this movie's been missing up until this point?
Comedy, a purpose, a plot.
There, you nailed it. Plot. Finally, it starts developing here. Because Mrs. X is a story that May wants to talk about. Mrs. X marries men and then murders them on their honeymoon, and she's already struck 3 times. We touch on that, and then we drop it immediately. At the end of the night, May is doing her best to make out with Tony as he's leaving.
Just sexually assaulting him in front of everyone.
In front of everyone, yeah. And it's played for laughs. And I didn't laugh. I don't know if I would have laughed in 93. It just made me feel really uncomfortable.
Agreed.
The next day, Charlie drives by Meats of the World again and can't help but stare at Harriet. I don't know why she's wearing that outfit, but sure.
That's a perfectly acceptable butcher's outfit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and
when you're cutting meats, you want to expose as much skin as possible, right?
Definitely. I did read a bit of trivia. There's a lot of improv happening on set. And apparently Mike Myers made her laugh so hard when she was cutting vegetables. She actually cut up her finger really badly and they had to like sew it back together.
Ooh.
But at this point, I'm realizing that the soundtrack to this movie is the most 90s thing I have ever heard. And I hate it.
Okay.
It was great for nostalgia. Like I would never, ever voluntarily play any of this music. And I never want to hear it again. But thanks for the memories.
Well, there you go.
Next, we move over to the police station and we meet the captain.
Yes!
Alan Arkin.
Okay. I was holding off as long as I could.
Yeah.
Give me an entire movie of Tony and the captain.
Yes! That would be absolutely amazing.
These two, when they're like, okay, Tony is great on his own.
Yeah.
But when these two are together in the police precinct, that could have been an entire series for me.
These are the moments where I'm actually laughing out loud.
Yeah, and Alan Arkin just nails it.
The captain is the nicest man in the world. Super thoughtful, looking out for everybody, questions Tony about forms that need to be filled out, but then notices his demeanor and asks how he's doing. And Tony's stance I really enjoyed too, because as we said before, he's depressed about his job as a cop not being as exciting as it looks on TV. And then tells the captain that he's too nice. And the captain's reaction is to offer him a hug. It's great. It's so
He's even
wholesome.
like, can't you come down on me? Tell me the commissioner's on my case. I don't answer to a commissioner.
It's actually a committee.
And it's so good.
Charlie returns to the butcher shop, which is crazy busy. Also, I find it very hard to believe she's running that entire thing by herself.
Well, I guess.
But, yeah, it's very convenient for the story because Charlie offers to help since his father was a butcher and he grew up working in the butcher shop. And then we get a montage, Sandro. A horrible, horrible montage.
So, you're just going to let someone who says that their dad was a butcher help you run a butcher shop?
As soon as he started like rubbing and molesting the meat, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Don't you ever come back in my store ever again. I will call the police. You are banned for life.
No, the appropriate reaction is to be smitten and laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate it.
When he's pretending like his hand got cut off and the customers are disgusted, I'm like, what are you doing?
You're scaring away business.
What is wrong with you?
You're there to help, not hinder her making money. My next note just says, I hate Charlie.
Yeah.
But the two go out that night, and Charlie asks her to tell him something she's done that was truly evil. For example, how many people has she brutally murdered?
Her response to this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Not the lines, the acting.
Yeah.
The way that her face just changes. The like cadence that she uses to say, well, what's brutal to someone might not be brutal to... It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
good job, Nancy Travis.
Fantastic job. And like, this is just for plot development, of course. But who would ask that? If you were out on a date, your first date, after really meeting somebody, would you be like, what's the most truly evil thing you've ever done? And they'd be like, I'm out. Get as far away from this lunatic as possible.
Maybe you need to go out with more people that you randomly let run your butcher shop.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really should just kind of relax a bit. Russian soldiers catcall Harriet, and we learn that she speaks Russian. And then we get some more flirting between the two of them.
Which doesn't come back.
It does.
Does it?
Yes.
The Russian specifically?
Yes.
You're going to have to remind me when then.
Not the, I guess they're Navy. Not those people in particular, but the Russian element, yes. Okay. Cut to Harriet's beautiful apartment. I don't understand how that place exists. I've been to a lot of older buildings that have been converted into apartment spaces in San Francisco, like some stunning warehouse conversions and shit like that, but nothing like this. Absolutely nothing like this.
If you're going to afford that place in San Francisco, you're going to need to have a lot more days like that in the butcher shop.
Exactly. Charlie notices martial arts attire and weapons displayed on one of the walls. He ends up staying the night with Harriet. I didn't like the build up to that scene. I don't want to see Mike Myers running upstairs with his pants around his ankles. I just don't. But he does shit like that in Wayne's World too. He is a fan of white briefs. I've seen Mike Myers in his underwear too many times, Sandro. I don't need to see it again.
I'm just disappointed in Harriet falling for this crap.
Which doesn't make sense. But to the plot, made me think maybe this is Mrs. X just trying to seduce another man. I'm like, okay, I can go along with that, sure.
Well, yeah, because you would figure in the hypothetical that she actually is Mrs. X.
Yes.
She's probably going to want targets that are a little bit more susceptible to manipulation.
Exactly.
And this guy's an idiot.
Oh, the worst. The absolute worst. But that's why I'm giving this a pass. Okay, I don't need this, but I get it. I understand why we're watching it. Sure, let's move on. After having sex, the two pass out, and Charlie wakes up to Harriet having a passionate dream and yelling out the name Ralph. When questioned about whom Ralph is, Harriet replies, "She's my friend."
Does this come back? I mean, yes, I know we meet Ralph, but, like, does the significance of it come back?
No.
Shit just happens in this movie.
Well, no, it actually does come back. Kind of. The name is important in the movie.
Yeah, and the fact that it's a woman that he meets just to subvert expectations, I guess, but...
Exactly.
Dumb.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not great by any means, but I understand why it's there. The next morning, Charlie accidentally walks in on Harriet's sister Rose in the shower. Rose, played by Amanda Plummer, offers to make Charlie an amazing breakfast, but ends up giving him Fruit Loops because she doesn't have any of those other things.
Would you mention that you have a sibling that you live with?
You would think so.
Like, it's not like you just kind of had sex last, like it was built up to. There was an anticipation. And you knew you were going to leave in the morning. Maybe you would say, oh, but my sister lives here, so just be careful.
Yeah. That would make sense.
And what are we supposed to think of this character? Of Rose?
I like Amanda Plummer. I think she gets stuck playing ridiculous characters too often.
I don't know who she is.
Have you seen Pulp Fiction?
No.
Okay.
Is this her normal voice, or is she...
That's her voice, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a very Joey Lauren Adams type thing.
It's a very nasally voice.
Yeah.
It just sucks. Like I think she's incredibly talented, but she never gets a chance to really show it that often. So it was nice to see her, but she deserves better.
Yeah. She doesn't show it in this either. So
yeah, right. Well, she doesn't get anything to really work with.
Nah.
There is a line that Mike Myers had in this movie right here that actually made me laugh.
Okay.
After she was talking about like baking like bacon and eggs or whatever, and just gives him Fruit Loops, she apologizes. He's like, no, that's fine. The other stuff will probably kill you, whereas Fruit Loops are light and reasonably high in fiber. And there's a beat, and he's like, I care for Apple Jacks a great deal. Like, perfect. Give me more of that kind of writing, because he nailed that, and I really enjoyed it. But I mean, I guess you get one a movie.
Yeah, he doesn't elect to go with the subtle humor in this movie too often.
No. Rose gets uncomfortable when Charlie mentions the martial arts stuff and Ralph, which I did not pick up on my first viewing. Did you at all?
Nah.
Yeah, exactly. Like after watching this all the way through and then going back and rewatching, you're like, this is a tell right here as to what's going on. Charlie and Tony go on a tour of Alcatraz. And
Why?
They live there.
Is this just a general outing that you go on?
Yeah, you can take tours of Alcatraz. I've been there.
No, but I mean, like, when you live in San Francisco, are you just, hey, Ben, what are you doing on Wednesday? Not much. You want to go on that tour again?
Again, perfect. I'm glad you said that. This is not their first time. It's not fucking cheap either. So why?
This is a tourist thing to do.
It is. It really is. But I mean, it at least gave us a chance to see Phil Hartman again.
Anytime you get to see Phil Hartman is fantastic.
It is fantastic. Yeah, Phil Hartman plays their guide, Vicky. And he's so funny. His story about Machine Gun Kelly and his bitch was so unnerving. And he's great at playing the straight man in comedy scenes.
He tells it so straight-faced.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why are you telling a crowd of people about this?
Yeah. And this also made me think of the Naked Gun movies, where Leslie Nielsen is playing like the role of the straight, no nonsense cop in a comedy, which makes it even funnier. And I think Hartman matches that skill, or maybe surpasses it. But in this one small scene, he has me smiling the entire time. But that's soon ruined because we had a montage of Harriet and Charlie on dates.
Okay.
Yeah. But we get a double date this time. Tony and his girlfriend Susan, played by Debbie Mazar, and Charlie and Harriet are at Fog City Cafe. Kind of pointless. I guess it's just really the chance to show that Tony and Harriet have met, because we never see Susan again.
No.
At the end of the night.
She's not even Tony's date to the wedding.
No. And I don't understand why. Because Debbie Mazar is fantastic. And does show up in other, like, Mike Myers films, but I don't know why she's so underutilized here. She would add so much to this movie. But at the end of the night, Charlie and Harriet opt to walk home in the rain. And Harriet mentions that she feels safe with Charlie, like in the movies where people stayed together forever. And I did like how this triggers his fear of commitment again. The next night, Charlie takes Harriet to meet his parents, and that goes as well as expected. What to say, man? They drop the point that they're soon celebrating their 30th wedding anniversary. And I did like how Stuart surprised Harriet, and she immediately throws this weird arm lock on him. And everyone freaks out immediately, but Stuart is just really impressed.
Yeah.
In the bathroom, Charlie discovers the Mrs. X article from the Weekly World News again. And did you look at the people that were murdered?
No.
Okay. One, a lounge singer in Atlantic City, which Charlie referenced the poster in Harriet's apartment of Atlantic City.
Yeah.
A Russian martial arts instructor.
That's weird. When they call the martial arts place later, it's all Asians, but sure.
That's fine. But you have the gear in Harriet's apartment on the wall and the weapons, and Harriet's ability to speak Russian.
And a plumber named Ralph. Charlie questions Harriet on the drive home, and her explanations link her to the cities where the murders occurred. So, okay, we're definitely building towards forcing the audience to suspect Harriet is Mrs. X. And Charlie asks Tony to look into the case. Another thing that only really comes up, if you don't listen specifically to this and latch onto it, you forget it, but on a rewatch, makes perfect sense. Part of the article that Tony looks into states that the lounge singer that died knew the words to the song Only You in 6 languages. I thought it was 4, but yeah, it was a number of languages.
Yeah. Charlie watches a news show that covers a story about how common it is for people in relationships to poison their partner. And of course, this is a cue for Harriet to enter with a health shake she made for Charlie, but he refuses to drink it. He even locks himself in the closet, a glass door closet. I hate this scene.
It's so stupid.
It doesn't make sense.
But my first question was, how did it take her 20 minutes to make a smoothie? Like, I get you don't have the, fruits in your butcher's shop, but you're not an idiot.
Yeah.
The idiot is in the glass closet.
But when she gets angry and she storms out and slams the bedroom door behind her, we see all of the shit that's on the shelves above Charlie in the closet come crashing down. That shelving had to be at least 12 feet high for the amount of shit that fell on him. And
made of light wicker to come tumbling down at the door being slammed slightly harder.
Yeah, this is just an unfunny sight gag. The only reason the door is glass is so we can see all the shit fall on him, and it's not funny. Harriet apologizes for making a scene out of it. Then we get the fucking scratching scene, which almost maybe turned the movie off again. Do you remember the scene I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we won't stay on this then. Weird talk about pushing somebody off of a cliff or in front of a subway train. And isn't it weird how much we just trust people? And then the joking needle in the ear scene, and I just want this over. Get me out now. I do have to say, before the scene was over, Harriet's offended, and Charlie tries to do the human blanket thing, laying on her, being like, "Oh, I'm a human blanket," and she just kind of like shoves him off. I'm like, yes, a follow-up punch would be nice right now. Thank you.
Just break up with him and kick him out of the apartment.
Yeah. The next day, Charlie goes to the local paper to submit an announcement for his parents' anniversary, and we get Michael Richards talking to Michael Haggerty, the obit writer, and this scene is basically Michael Richards' meltdown on stage from years ago. I don't know if you saw that or not, dropping some racist statements.
Yeah, I saw it.
But this is that scene minus profanity. It was very uncomfortable because this happened so long before. I'm like, oh, he definitely had that attitude and like the ability to sound that angry in him at this point. And I understand he's playing a character, but you play these two scenes side by side, which I have, and you're like, this is the exact same fucking thing. We had forewarning that he was crazy and just, nope. But we cut to the park from the opening of the Full House credits. Charlie breaks up with Harriet, stating he's afraid that she will leave him.
So is it like contractually obligated that if you do something in San Francisco, you have to have that street on it?
Yeah. I'm okay with that though, man. It reminded me of something I enjoyed watching more.
Use it for something. You
could use that park repeatedly throughout the movie. Make it a staple. Like that's our favorite place to go for picnics or something. Because it is even like beautiful scene.
Use it for a sight gag. Oh, he has to chase after her and he can't go uphill. And he keels over heaving because he's tired.
Yeah.
Just do something. Justify it.
But I think they kind of do. And that is, how would you break up with somebody you thought was an axe murderer? I would definitely do it in a field where I could see all the way around me, know that there are people in the area, and I'm not going to be murdered then and there. So I forgive it for that, but it really should have been used more. I don't know why that night Charlie tries to write a poem, though. But then we're back at the Rhodes Cafe, and oh yeah, that's why, because we get to hear his modified woman poem. Now it's about Harriet.
Clearly, this guy is not inventive at all and just recycles the same poem.
It still sucks. It's the worst. And yeah, the last time he did this, we saw that he finished it by picking up a candle and blowing it out. This time he picks it up,
indicating that the flame had...
Exactly. But this time he doesn't. He hesitates and then sets it back down.
Yeah, and set it down on your foot and let it catch fire.
I have in caps here. His flame for her still burns, Sandro. It's so deep.
No, it's not.
It's fucking trash. I see that we're enjoying this movie so far.
This movie sucks.
The next day, Tony calls Charlie, saying somebody just turned themselves in for the murder of Ralph. Charlie is ecstatic and goes to get Harriet back, but she rejects him.
Good.
Well, honestly, she says he rejected her. Accurate. He wins back her affection by performing another band-backed poem on the rooftop outside of her window, which to me screams psychopath.
Yeah, so clearly she's a moron for falling for that too.
Yeah. I forgot writing this note. It's just a subnote under it, just saying, I hate it. I hate Charlie. Every other character in this movie is fantastic, but I hate the lead. This poem sucks. This character sucks. I think
should have had like a bunch of people throwing their shoes at him out the window.
It's terrible. That night, Harriet's friend Ralph arrives and Harriet introduces her to Charlie. And this is post-bath scene and Charlie's towel falls off. Funny.
Nope.
Cut to what I assume is another night. Maybe the same night. I don't know. It's not very specific. The location, Cock of the North. A British or Scottish pub. Stuart and May's 30th anniversary celebration. I looked it up. Myers was born in 1963. So when this movie was released, he would have actually been 30. So that's, I don't know, some attention to detail. I think Nancy Travis was about 32 or 33 here too. Harriet asks Charlie to dance, and he proposes to her, but she turns him down.
Worst proposal ever.
It's terrible. Oh, so far, Sandro, what has this movie given us to find Charlie the least bit endearing?
Nope.
Okay. Not exactly an answer to that question, but I get what you're saying.
Charlie sucks. Charlie as a character and a human being is garbage.
Yeah.
I don't want to root for this guy.
No, it's another example of us hating the protagonist. I used to think Chad was the worst.
I don't know. Chad's looking pretty good right now.
What about I forget his name. Sean Astin in Encino Man.
Dave.
I thought Dave was the worst.
Dave's not so bad anymore.
Dave's not so crusty, man. Charlie McKenzie is the fucking worst.
He's just so unlikable.
Yeah. I don't care if he survives. It's a fucking comedy. I'm like, maybe he'll die. I could be going along with that just fine.
What maybe? I'm hoping for it. Let's go. Come on, Miss X. Do your shit.
Well, he confesses his love to her, and somehow that changes her mind, and they get married.
Well, it's in the movie. This will be her fourth wedding, so why put that much thought into it?
You're right.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it again.
But she's so steadfast against it, and then it's like, yeah, okay. At the wedding reception in a backyard, Stewart sings "If You Think I'm Sexy" by Rod Stewart. And it's backed by bagpipes. May continues to sexually harass Tony. The piper passes out. Tony congratulates Charlie. And then, Sandro, Harriet serenades Charlie with a rendition of Only You in multiple languages.
But that's the lounge singer song. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't care.
I do have to say, as soon as she starts singing, we get that quick shot of Tony and Charlie looking at each other, being like, holy shit. And then, just shrugging it off. And then Charlie walks off to join Harriet, and we see Tony finally start to doubt himself. Anthony LaPaglia is great in this movie.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's acting. But I do have to say, they do a fantastic job of setting Harriet up as Mrs. X. There's no reason not to believe it's her. During a drive to the honeymoon hotel destination, Charlie makes a joke that he's the best husband Harriet's ever had, and that sets her off. Yet somehow he quickly remedies it.
That felt really forced.
It did
that
feel
scene
forced.
Felt really forced.
Yeah. And honestly, it didn't add anything to the story.
Yeah.
At all.
You know what else it didn't add anything to?
What?
My giving a shit meter.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I'm honed in on how you feel about this movie now.
Okay.
Back at the station, the captain slams Tony with a perfect movie cop rant.
Yes!
Finally.
I love it. This guy is so nice that he's going to pretend to be mean to make him happy.
Yeah. The captain, Sandro. It makes me so happy.
So good.
Happy to see him.
And Tony has to rush out of there because the captain tells him, the woman confessed to other murders. I forget what they were, like Abraham Lincoln or something.
In Julius Caesar or whatnot.
Yeah,
but
ridiculous.
It's the woman that confessed to killing Ralph.
And Tony's got to rush out of there because shit, right? This is bad. But then takes the time to come back and he's like, oh, that was a lot better. I was really working on that. It was so good. The chemistry these two have, which, should be a given. These two actors are phenomenal. Yeah. But it's so good. It's so good.
It's nice to smile during what I've been told is a comedy.
Yeah.
Alan Arkin is so good.
So good.
Tony faxes pictures of Harriet to people who knew the murder victims, who all agree that, yeah, Harriet married those men. Okay, so she's Harriet's Mrs. X, right, Sandro? They wouldn't swerve us, would they?
No, it's a comedy.
Exactly.
There's never a good ending in a comedy.
Charlie and Harriet arrive at the hotel, which looks like the perfect setting for a murder mystery, actually. I kind of dig it. Harriet claims to have a headache and goes to buy aspirin. A storm is rolled in, so Tony can't get in touch with Charlie, but he charters a plane, which is piloted by Stephen Wright. And this also made me laugh. I love Stephen Wright. Do you know him at all?
I mean, I recognize him.
He was a guy on the couch in Half Baked, but he's a stand-up comedian his shtick is short 1 or 2 sentence jokes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of widths. Stuff like that. But he's got a very recognizable voice. We also get another great performance here by the captain before he gets to the plane. But yeah, Stephen Wright, man. Like, him and Tony in that plane flying through the thunder and lightning storm at night. Very, very turbulent flight. And Tony's like, hey, listen, how long is it going to take us to get there? And you just get this nonchalant, low voice, Stephen Wright. It shouldn't take very long. Actually, I have no concept of time. I'm laughing at this. I know a lot of people aren't and probably hate him, but I love Stephen Wright, and this is just him doing his bit on film. But we cut back to the hotel, and Charlie and Harriet sit down for dinner. The plane's already landed at this point. Charlie gets a call from Tony informing him that Harriet is indeed Mrs. X. Lightning strikes and the line goes dead. And you can see Harriet stressing out, but in retrospect, on a rewatch, this doesn't make any sense. It's an intentional mislead that just kind of ruins your second viewing. Any input here? Did you feel the same way, or you're just kind of like waiting for the movie to play out?
Well, I mean, on the rewatch, it's like she's led to believe that 3 people that she married left her, somehow not putting together the murders, because apparently she doesn't look at the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know, concern. Like, is this guy going to leave me too? Is this too good to be true?
Yep. Also, why does she just take things from her husbands who left? Like, if I married somebody and on our honeymoon, they took off, I'm not going to display any of their shit in my apartment or house. I just found that really weird.
It's not convenient to the plot.
But we get a break and go back to something enjoyable, which is Tony trying to commandeer Charles Grodin's car. And I didn't write down any lines of dialogue because I urge people to look up the scene on YouTube. Charles Grodin is the biggest shit-eating, don't fuck with me character I've seen in a long time. And he was great. Even like with him, like not like with Tony tries to commandeer the car and Grodin's like, you don't have the right to do that, but agrees to give him a drive to the hotel. And Tony's just like tapping on the dash. And he just says something like, do you need to do that? Or can you please stop doing that? And Tony's like, well, you don't like it? And he's like, no, it's one of my favorite things. And just stares at him like, this is great, awkward comedy. I love it. There is so much, Sandra, that happens in this movie in the periphery of Charlie's story that is so much better than the main plot that we get. It almost feels like it's intentionally trying to piss me off.
I would argue that statement is slightly incorrect.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, you said there's so much in the periphery of Charlie. I'd say everything that's not Charlie is so much better.
Well, we're on the exact same page. Cut back to the hotel and we get the scene of the honeymoon chair. The fuck is that?
Who cares? Let's fucking end this.
It'd be so weird. It'd be so fucking weird to have like people that work at a hotel like scoop you up with your your husband or wife and like rush you up to your bedroom. Be like, you can just fuck off. Leave us alone. We're trying to eat dinner. You embarrass us in front of other people by announcing we're newlyweds. People just kind of pick away at us with random comments. Then you scoop us up in a wicker chair and rush us upstairs and make us feel even more uncomfortable. Fuck off. I'm not paying for this. But I did like Charlie yelling at not the bellhop, but one of the attendants or whatever, being like, don't you want to stay for a nightcap? It's like, no. You've got a lot to do. Don't stay for a nightcap. The guy's like, no. And he just screams at him, stay for a nightcap. And the bellhop just runs away screaming.
Good.
Got a chuckle out of me. But in the room, Harriet confesses to Charlie that she has been married before. He freaks out immediately and pulls an axe on her, and then runs to try the phone, but finds a letter next to it that reads, Dear Harriet, I just can't handle the commitment. It's too hard. I'm leaving you. Love, Charlie. And then Rose just appears behind him, axe in hand. So there we go, Sandro. Rose is the murderer.
What?
Yeah. I don't know how Harriet can keep marrying men and not know that Rose will kill them if she's willing to kill Charlie directly in front of her sister.
Well, he wasn't supposed to see that yet.
Yeah. And if that's, like, why not turn Rose in? Like, she acts super suspicious all the time. She's obviously crazy, but the movie just doesn't address it because it wouldn't work for the plot. So you almost feel kind of cheated. Charlie escapes to the roof and Rose follows for a rooftop chase scene, which is boring. But Tony's arrived at the hotel now, breaks into the hotel room, handcuffs Harriet, but she explains to him what's actually happening. He doesn't believe her.
Ignores the sounds of the thumping on the roof.
Exactly. But when he's trying to put her in the police car outside, they see the two fighting on the roof. Then we get the trading of groin kicks, which is groan-inducing. And Rose is apprehended and arrested. And then we cut to Charlie performing another altered version of his woman poem at Rhodes Cafe. And finally, the credits roll, and this movie is over. How are you feeling after that? Yep.
This movie sucks.
So
bad.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Awards? No. Money? No. What? Ratings? Something?
You know what? We could get into the numbers.
Sure.
We can get into the ratings, but there is something I want to say first.
Okay.
I really like this movie.
What?
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
You're so full of it, man.
I already ordered it on Amazon.
There's no way.
I do. I know. I really enjoy this movie. I fucking hate Mike Myers as Charlie. I hate him. I hate him so much. I don't know why, but as the movie went on, I started getting more and more into it, and I really liked it. I hate his story, but I was always really excited to see Nancy Travis. I was excited to see LaPaglia, Arkin, to an extent, Plummer. I actually enjoyed it. But when you try and pick it apart, it's terrible.
I loathe the idea of doing a second watch for this movie.
I've watched it 4 times. I can't explain it better than I already did, man, but it doesn't make sense to me. I'm really, really happy that I finally watched it after almost 30 years of its release.
Whatever, man.
So, having disappointed you, let's talk numbers.
I'd almost rather watch The Howling again.
The Howling's a great movie. Watch that whenever you can.
Yeah.
The budget, Sandro. You want to take a guess?
I don't care.
You're right. It is estimated at $20 million. Was this movie a success? The next movie that Mike Myers did right after Wayne's World.
I'd say probably just the name recognition and the popularity of Wayne's World probably brought people into the theater.
It was a miserable failure.
Good.
It made back $11.6 million.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what you deserve, movie.
What might stun you are the ratings.
Okay.
Have you seen the IMDb score? You tend to see
No,
this.
sir.
Out of 10, I'm curious. Out of 10, what would you give this movie, and what do you think people gave this movie?
2.
Okay. What do you think people gave it?
I don't know. People are dumb. 7.
Close. 6.4.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes. Tomato meter, the critics, a little bit more judgmental, 53%. Audience score slightly better at 68.
I don't know what movie these people are watching.
You're in the minority, my friend.
I'm comfortable in that minority.
Okay, good. Let's move on to awards then.
All right.
Your least favorite character.
Well, we generally start with the.
Oh, that's right.
The fan pick answers here on the form.
Okay, so what did Mrs. X say?
Yeah, call Alyssa Mrs. X.
You never know.
For worst, least favorite performance, I can't remember any bad performances. It's all gold.
Shut your mouth.
And
it's
you
all
start.
Gold?
That's what it says. And
all
you
right,
start.
And I'll start. I'm pretty sure you can guess.
It's Charlie McKenzie. I don't know why we're even delaying this. He's a terrible character.
The worst. Absolute worst. And this is supposed to be a vehicle for Mike Myers' career. It must have been his own meddling that just muddled everything to the point where he was just a detestable protagonist.
Sure.
Moving on.
Best or favorite performance? Alyssa has Mike Myers, of course. He plays multiple characters, and he's hilarious.
Alyssa, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing?
I don't know.
No. We've had people pick favorite character, least favorite character. We're like, okay. But I think probably the first time in 80-something episodes, no, you're wrong. And I know it's personal preference, but you are still wrong.
I would have accepted it if she said Mike Myers and simply for Stewart.
Okay, yeah.
Right? If you want to divide them into two different characters, because they are two completely different characters. It's not like the same actor is doing two slightly different characters. Like, they're opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yeah. How did you feel about the Stewart character? It's like, at times I thought he was kind of funny, but equally annoying. No comment?
I was fine with him.
All right. Favorite character?
I cheated, and I don't care if you tell me I'm not allowed to do it. I took both Tony and the captain.
I picked the captain and Tony.
Okay. So we both cheated on that one.
Yeah. It's one character. Like, there's a weird symbiosis going on there that they just need to be on the screen together at all times.
Yeah. If you've seen this movie, whether you like it or hate it, you can definitely see where that answer comes from. You can't really argue it.
They're great. Even on their own, they're very good. You put them in a scene together, and it's magic. What was Alyssa's most memorable line?
Okay, you are not going to like this, man. So I'm not going to
better not be a poem.
I'm not going to prefix it with anything. I'm just going to start reading.
Okay.
Excuse me, miss. There seems to be a mistake. I believe I ordered the large cappuccino.
Oh,
hello. It's right at the start of the movie, and it's funny, is what she wrote.
The line that made me turn the movie off. Okay. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe I shouldn't have watched this movie for the first time in my late 30s. But as I said, I do like this movie. But that is atrocious.
Alyssa's never going to listen to our show again.
You know what? Bye.
No, don't say
no,
that.
I'm kidding. No, I want more of an explanation. Alyssa, you have to follow this up. I need more justification for this. Also, you say you haven't seen it in a long time, so maybe could you do me a favor if you're listening to this right now? find the time to watch this hour 33, hour 35-minute movie with a critical eye and not the nostalgic one. And let us know how you truly feel about it in 2022. I'm very curious.
All right.
Cool.
What was your most memorable line?
I couldn't pick between two. One
Okay.
actually kind of made me laugh, and the other I thought was good writing.
Fine, pick two. Who cares?
One was actually from Charlie.
Okay.
And the first part of it is one of the worst bits of writing I've ever heard. And the finish to it, I thought was quite funny.
Okay.
Saying, Scotland has its own martial art. It's called fuck you. It's mostly just headbutting people and kicking them when they're on the ground. I did laugh. I can't say I didn't, and that did stick with me. But another is just an offhand line from Tony. And that's when Charlie's going crazy at the police station looking into Mrs. X. And Kathy, who works there, is giving him info. And Tony's like, Charlie, that's true. And you're just going to have to realize that. I mean, I would personally lie to you, but Kathy here has this crazy notion of always telling the truth. And it's not pertinent to the plot at all. But the delivery was so good. And it's exactly Tony's character. Like, everything Tony says fits Tony. And you don't really get that with a lot of the other characters you see on screen a lot. So I really enjoyed that. But I think I'm going to have to go with it's mostly just headbutting people and kicking them when they're on the ground. Because that's just funny.
Sounds good.
What about you?
So I went with a Charlie line.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Both of us hate Charlie. We both picked him as memorable lines. Oh, wait, mine was funny. Yours is probably detestable, right?
Not necessarily, but I think it's just more indicative of the character that I'd rather he be.
Okay.
Because it was actually somewhat funny to me, right? And he's not funny in any other parts of the movie.
No.
When they're on their first date and Harriet asks him, what do you look for in a woman you date?
Oh, yeah.
And he says, well, I know everyone always says sense of humor, but I'd really have to go with breast size.
Yeah, that's a definite sign of the time.
It is, but it's like, this might be the most honest answer to any question Charlie gets in this movie.
It's also the only time he ever is risky.
He's such a good guy. He's such a nice guy.
Everybody loves Charlie. He's great.
Oh, so great.
Charlie is wonderful. He's a very well-talented poet.
Yeah. I wonder how that career is doing right now.
Yeah. All right. Alyssa's memorable scene.
When Mike Myers' character is talking to his Scottish dad in front of the TV. That's all it says.
They do have some good back and forths, I have to say.
I'm going to assume that that's the Colonel Sanders part.
Yeah, it would be when he first shows up at their house.
But I'm not sure on the specifics of it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I could see why she would pick that. Yeah. What about you?
I actually picked that same section of the movie. The whole Colonel Sanders putting an addictive chemical in your chicken to make you crave it fortnightly. And then all of the insults to Heed's big head.
Heed!
Just fantastic.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And Tony's reaction. Just like, he's kind of laughing along, but he's like regretting it at the same time.
Complex.
Yeah.
That one might have crossed the line. He's going to be crying into his giant pillow tonight. Or enormous sized pillow, whatever.
Yeah, that's good. That was a good scene. You're right. I picked the captain verbally assaulting Tony.
Yeah, that was right up there for me too.
Yeah, he's trying so hard to be that supportive leader and care for the people that work for him.
By playing a not supportive person. It's fantastic.
It's so contradictory and so heartwarming. I love it. Yeah, man. This was an odd one.
All right. So, what's your final take on the movie?
I really like it. I don't know if it's because I don't think I've ever encountered a movie where I hate and love parts of it so much. It was just an odd experience for me, and it's a new experience for me, so it's definitely going to stick with me. There are parts I love about it, like Nancy Travis through and through won me over. She's
Oh,
great.
she is fantastic.
Anthony LaPaglia, fantastic. Alan Arkin, great. Mike Myers was in this movie. There's so much to love about it, but you don't get enough to justify saying it's a good movie. I like it. It's not good. I don't know why it's such a cult classic. There's something I'm missing. Maybe it is the nostalgia. I won't recommend it. I can't, but I do like it. What about you?
This movie commits the ultimate cinematic sin of falling into the gray area between a good movie you can enjoy and a movie so bad that you can enjoy ripping into it. I couldn't care less about this movie. The second time I watched it, I was just watching the clock, waiting for the runtime to end. This movie was boring, unentertaining, not funny, terrible protagonist, an amazing cast outside of it, which makes you just wonder, like, why you would waste so many fantastic people and performances on this drivel.
Right. And if you remove Mike Myers and his obvious involvement with writing his lines, and you replace him with some competent screenwriter and say Paul Rudd, this movie could be amazing.
This protagonist, quote unquote, needs to be a straight character in the sense that none of this goofy bullshit.
Yes. Have him play the not hard-nosed, but the serious everyman. That makes his family that much more entertaining, because it's at that point they're all like screwball characters, and it would make them even that much more hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just they got the formula wrong. And that's incredibly irritating because everything around Charlie is great. And he just tanks it.
Potential.
Yeah. That's I very much appreciate your insight to this. Like, you've brought up certain points that would make the movie much, much better as we've gone through it. But your final statement, yeah, it really does sum this up. It's almost an insult that something that has so much good is so terrible. I don't think we've ever encountered that on the show before.
Yeah, I don't care.
But at least now when people ask if I've seen it, I can say yes. And not be like, what do you mean you haven't seen it?
Correct answer is unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, very unexpected outcome for me. Kind of expected that one from you.
Yeah. Because, you watched the movie. You should have seen it coming.
Yeah. I don't know, man. We trashed this movie.
It's because it deserves it. You put garbage in the trash. That's how it works.
Curious to see.
Hello!
No. Let's move on here.
So I wasted an hour and a half of my life, more like it.
Nice callback, though. Okay, that actually made me wince.
Sure.
But yeah, so you're going to pick next week's movie, eh?
That's right. I picked the next movie. And I don't know if you're going to be happy about this pick or unhappy about
it. If you make me feel worse than I did with this one, we're going to have a problem.
Not a possibility at all.
All right.
I believe you like the movie. I'm just wondering if you're going to be mad at me for making you put it under a microscope.
All right, Sandro. What movie are we watching next week?
We hitting close to home for you this one, buddy. We're watching the 2011 A Hobo with a Shotgun.
I don't think I've seen you around here before. Let me guess. You rode in on the rail.
That's right.
Did anybody officially welcome you to town yet?
They never do.
Well, welcome to Funtown!
Anti-crime groups have been springing up throughout the city, and their inspiration is this unidentified homeless man who's been delivering justice.
This is a goddamn fucking robbery!
I'm gonna sleep in your bloody carcasses tonight! Keep the change.
I want that hobo's head on my wall.
Jerk on this shit liquor!
Or crucify him to a homeless shelter. Put the knife away, kid, or I'll use it to cut welfare checks from your rotten skin. Hallelujah. You and me are going on a car ride to hell. You're riding shotgun.
You can't solve all the world's problems with a shotgun.
It's all I know.
Dude. Oh, okay. All right. I have stories.
Until next week, have a good one.
Hello!